So I've been operating a pizza pop-up for about the past year, and today I'm gonna explain exactly how I do it. I'll tell you how I got started, exactly what it takes to make each of these events happen, and also how much money I actually make from them. Spoiler alert, it's probably not as much as you think. So the first thing you need to start a pop-up, whether it's pizza or not, is a product. And not just any product, but a great product. In my opinion, that's the absolute most important thing. And when I first started making pizza, mine wasn't great. But like anything, if you practice enough, you're gonna get better at it. And for me, I eventually got to a point that I was happy with, and so I decided to host a few free pizza events for neighbors at my apartment. Now you don't have to start for free, but for me it was a great way to get started because it's a great way to get practice in at a larger scale without too much pressure. Because if people don't like your product, well, they didn't pay for it, so they can't really complain. And for me, I wanted to make sure that my product was as dialed in as possible before I started selling it. And I'm glad I did, because I definitely made a lot of mistakes during those few free events that I was able to learn from and then avoid once I started doing the pop-ups. So fast forward to July 2023, I found a flyer for a local brewery here in Cleveland called Bookhouse Brewing. And after looking them up on Instagram, I found out that they host food pop-ups nearly every weekend. So I just went in and asked if they'd be interested in working together, and somewhat to my surprise, they were open to it. Now I won't bore you with all the details that came next, but basically among other things, I set up an LLC, made a logo, rented kitchen space to prep my ingredients, and got all the necessary licenses and permits that I needed in order to make my pop-up official. And while the first event I hosted definitely wasn't as smooth as I would have liked it, and I knew I could have been putting out a better product if I had been more prepared, people were still raving about the pizza, so overall I'd say it was a success. I did over $400 in sales during that first night, which was definitely a lot more than I expected, and it's only gone up from there. So let's take a look at what I'm doing today. Now I've already made a full behind the scenes video showing my full prep process, so you can check that out after this video if you haven't seen it yet. But basically, since I've gotten started with these pop-ups, I've come up with more efficient ways to prep my sauces and toppings. I got a new spiral mixer from Spiral Mac, which makes my process a lot easier. I've implemented online pre-orders to make service quicker and more predictable, and I've optimized my service workflow so that I can serve as many people as possible in a single night. However, I've also increased the quality of my pizza tenfold through constant trials and testing, research, customer feedback, and most importantly, making a ton of mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And recently I also got a new oven, which just helps me to take my pizza to a whole nother level. But before we get into that, we need to talk about one more thing. Because as you're starting to see, there's a lot of work that goes into even getting started with something like this. And so I need to make sure that I'm operating at my absolute best, which in large part means being well rested. And I'm able to do that with help from this video's sponsor, Helix. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding, customized to fit your needs and conveniently shipped to your door. Because everybody is different and Helix knows that. So all you have to do is take Helix's online sleep quiz and they'll match you to the perfect mattress based on your body type and preferences. Personally, I tend to sleep on my side and prefer a medium to firm mattress. And for those of you who don't know, I actually just got married a few weeks ago as well. So luckily Helix's sleeping quiz also takes into account the preferences of your sleeping partner and picks a mattress to suit both of you. So based on our preferences, we were matched to the Helix Midnight mattress, and sure enough, it's been a perfect fit for both me and my wife. And by the way, she picked out this bedding, so don't judge. It's kind of nice though, I mean, don't you think? Now I also upgraded to the Glaciotex cooling cover since I tend to get pretty hot at night, and it seems to make a pretty big difference in keeping me comfortable and helping me get to sleep faster. But if you're still not convinced, Helix mattresses also come with a 100-night sleep trial, 10-year warranty, and flexible payment options. So right now, Helix is offering viewers of this channel an exclusive 27% discount, plus 2 free pillows with your order. Just use the promo code HelixPartner27 to take advantage of this special offer, and act fast because the deal ends after Labor Day. So check out the Helix site below for more details. Thanks again to Helix for sponsoring this video, and thank you for your support. Now, let's talk about this pizza oven I've been using. So to get the results I'm looking for the sort of artisan New York style pizza I make, I use an electric oven with both top and bottom heating elements. So until recently I used this model from Avantco, which I made a video about on the channel a while back. I chose it because it was really affordable for its size, it can bake up to 17-inch pizzas, which is important to me since I sell pizza by the slice, and it could be used on a regular 110 volt outlet. However, it was a lot more underpowered than I would have liked. Before each event, I had to load it up with 3 thick stones and let them preheat for about 3 to 4 hours before I could even bake pizza, and even then I would lose heat throughout the night and the pizzas would start taking longer and longer to bake. Not to mention the top burner didn't get nearly as hot as I needed it to get that nice charring and flavor that I like on my pizza. So recently I upgraded to this F.A. Uno P150H, and I couldn't be happier with it. I can bake 19-inch pizzas, which is great because now I can cut them into 8 slices instead of 6, meaning I can get more value out of each pizza. But it also makes much better pizza because it's a lot more powerful. It heats up to its max temperature of 850 degrees Fahrenheit or 450 Celsius in just about 30 minutes. And during baking, it actually generates intense enough heat from the top element to give me the results I'm looking for. The only stipulation with it, and the reason that I wasn't using it before, is because it requires at least 208 volt power. So I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out, but just remember to make sure you have the proper outlet before you buy it. I got it from a site called Black Rock Grill, which I think is the only place to get FA-Uno ovens in the US, but their customer service was super helpful and responsive when I was inquiring about the oven, so I'm sure they'll be able to help you out as well. Now again, you can see my whole prep process in that previous pop-up video I made, but basically once I get to the venue, I put all my prepped sauces and toppings away in the coolers and start setting up my tables. So basically I have a front table where I take orders, a stretching table where I stretch the dough, and then a topping table where I top the pizzas before baking and after baking, because every one of my pizzas has at least 2 or 3 post-bake toppings as well. Now you'll also notice that I'm building these 19-inch pizzas on screens, and that's not necessarily because it gives me a better result, but it's more so to prevent mistakes. Since these pizzas pretty much fill the entire oven, I don't really have room to shimmy the peel the way I need to, and so it's pretty tough to get a consistent result. So what I do instead is launch the pizzas on the screen, and then just remove the screen after 2 or 3 minutes when the bottom of the pizza is set. Since I'm operating this pop-up by myself, I just can't risk any pizzas getting messed up, and I found that 99% of the time when one did get messed up, it was during the launching process. Now when I remove one of these pies that I'm selling by the slice, I'll just slice it and then throw it onto a tray on this little makeshift rack that I put together before service. And I set the rack right on top of the oven that I use to reheat the slices for maximum efficiency. So now when I get an order for a slice, I can just grab one, toss it in the oven for a couple minutes to heat it up, and then bring it over to my topping station to finish it off before the order goes out. Now I also sell whole pies, which are 16 inches. So for these, I do build them straight onto a wooden peel and then launch them as usual without a screen, because I have a lot more space to work with these smaller pizzas. And since these pizzas bake on the oven floor for the entire time, this has the added benefit of making them crispier, which is actually necessary since these pizzas won't be getting reheated like the slices will. So when these come out of the oven, they go onto a rack to cool for a few minutes before being sliced, boxed, and then topped with post-baked toppings. And that's pretty much the gist of it. I just do that over and over and over again throughout the night. And it might not look crazy, but I can tell you that doing this all by myself, it gets pretty hectic when things get busy. But just getting to see people enjoying my pizza and getting the positive feedback from it makes this all worth it 100 times over. I mean, for example, I hosted a pop-up the day before this one, and a couple from New York came in and tried my pizza, and they were going on and on about how it's the best pizza they've had since they moved from New York. So we were talking, and they were kind of jokingly saying that they were gonna come back the next day to get more. Or at least I thought they were joking, but sure enough, they were my very first customers the next day.
Hey, you're back.
We're serious.
Yeah?
We messaged you and we were like, he's probably making pizzas. We should just come here.
You said 2 of each?
Yeah.
Of just those 3 that I've got there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Appreciate you guys coming back. I mean,
Yeah, no.
it means a lot that, yeah.
I'm serious.
And we were laughing because I was like, it's just pizza. And they were like,
And I get people like that all the time. I have regulars that come in pretty much every time I host an event. People practically begging me to open up a shop. And I've even had a couple people drive a few hours to come and get my pizza. And I gotta say, when you put so much time and effort into creating something, just to see people enjoying it like that, it's really something special. But anyways, I also mentioned that I was gonna break down the finances of an event like this. And this particular day I filmed was actually slower than usual, but on average, I sell about 20 to 25 pizzas per night, some by the slice, some whole pies, and that's pretty much the maximum I can do in a single night. So in total, that'll generate me about $600. However, that's before we consider any costs, so let's break that down. So I try to keep my ingredient costs, or cost of goods sold, around 25%. So that brings my profit down to $450. I also pay a payment processing fee of 3.5%, which is about another $20. And then I have to rent about 4 hours of kitchen space for an event like this at $25 an hour. So that already brings me down to $330 of profit. However, I also have to pay monthly for the storage space in the kitchen. And of course I had to buy all this equipment that I'm using, which isn't a recurring cost, but it is pretty significant in the scheme of things. I also purchased just ingredients for testing and recipe development. So I would say all those things added together probably add up to about 25%, which brings my total gross profit down to $180. Now, fortunately, one thing I don't have to deal with is labor costs, which is typically the other biggest expense that pizzerias have. But we can calculate my hourly rate based on everything that went into this event. So I spent about 2 hours driving and shopping for ingredients, 5 hours prepping ingredients and driving to and from the prep kitchen, 1 hour making social media posts and making menus, 3 hours setting up before the event and tearing down afterwards, and then 4 hours of actual service, which adds up to a total of 15 hours, giving me an hourly rate of $12 per hour, which obviously isn't great, but it's mostly an issue with scale. Since again, I can only bake a limited number of pizzas per night, my revenue is pretty significantly limited there. On top of that, my fixed costs like equipment eat into my profits a lot, just because I still had to make that full initial investment to buy the ovens and trays and POS system and all that other stuff, even though I'm only using it a couple times a month. So needless to say, I'm not doing this for the money. With that said though, I don't think it's not worth doing just because I don't make a lot of money from it. I still love doing it, and as I mentioned before, it's just very fulfilling seeing people enjoy my pizza so much. However, the real reason I got started in the first place, on top of just enjoying it, is because it's a great way to do market research and get feedback on my product from actual paying customers, so that when I open my own brick and mortar pizzeria, I'll have the experience and I can come out of the gate with as great of a product as possible. Otherwise, if you want to get even more behind the scenes on how I prep for these pop-ups, you can check out this video right here. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.